How is everybody doing today? It's Henry Wallace. I'm the owner of Thrifty Used Cars and Tires. It's a cold day in South Mississippi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel is going to be devoted to starting car dealerships, anything you know about cars. You had something to do with a car, we might talk about it. I'm the owner of Thrifty Used Cars and Tires, and 4 years ago, I lost my job. I was about 48 years old, freshly married, new $350,000 house, had a mortgage, and I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was a collection supervisor for about 10 years at a finance company. Man, it's cold. Jesus. I ain't used to that, but actually, you see what I'm wearing here? I'm a die-hard New Orleans Saints fan, and they're in the playoffs. This is probably Drew Brees' last run. Let's get back to the YouTube channel. So I lost my job. I was a collection supervisor for about 10 years for a subprime finance company. And when they said, Henry, we ain't going to be able to play you no more, they said, but we're going to give you an opportunity with something. If you want to sell our repos, you could do that. So I had to open up a car dealership. I had to figure it all out on myself. And that's what this channel is going to be about. It's going to be about how my journey went, what I learned about cars, every mistake, everything I learned, about how I watched Rick Dyer's videos and the Bigfoot hunter helped me out. All that crazy stuff will be in these videos. Stay tuned. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Man, we're going to have a fun journey. So this is where it all began. For 2.5 years, this is where we were at. And let's give you a little play-by-play here. So when I came looking for a car lot, I came to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. I spent a lot of time here. This used to be our old Catholic Charities building. There was a Payday Loan place here when I opened. That's down a little further. And where the Payday Loan place is now, that was another car dealership. This is Highway 90, it's the main drag. Henderson Ford, franchise Ford dealership over there. This is where I chose to open. I've been coming here my whole life. And why did I choose to open here? Because I saw a guy buy, with the lot that I own now, I saw the guy that owned that lot become a millionaire in 10 years. He's retired in Florida, plays golf every day. So I said, man, that guy can do it. He's a drinker, he's a great guy, very smart business-wise. I'm like, but if he can do it, I can do it. So I knew I wanted to come to Bay St. Louis. I was living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So, like I said, just freshly married, new $350,000 mortgage. I'm living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours from here. And I lost my job, or I was losing my job. They came to me and said, hey, you can sell our repos. And the way that deal would work is all our repos that get shipped here, I clean them up, get them ready to roll. If I sold it, got a new contract for them, I got to keep the down payment. So basically, I had free cars to sell. But I had no idea. I wasn't a loan manager. I worked for them. My job was collections. I was the guy, after somebody became 20 days past due, they gave me their account. And anywhere in South Louisiana or South Mississippi. And I drove around to their house, knocked on the door, and I saw that they kept their car or not. If they couldn't make the payment, I let them keep the car. If they couldn't, I repoed the car. So I was kind of like a repo man. Back in the day, they used to call it a chase guy. I did that for 10 years. I got 55 cents a mile, and I got $20 an hour, and I could work 6 days a week. I was rolling, going good. Then, about 5 years in, they let me buy a piece of the collection agency, and life was good. I went through. My baby mama left, and I found a girl I wanted to date most of my life. I knew I wanted to date her, so I tracked her down, sent her a friend request. We got married, and life was good. And then they tell me I'm gonna lose my job. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. Right when I got everything going the way I want, I gotta lose my job. So, before I got into the car business, my main deal was, I graduated college from UNLV when we won it all in basketball. I was in the restaurant business. I worked for Bennigan's for 10 years. I started off as a manager, became a GM, multi-unit GM, and I worked for them. That was my first job out of college. And I worked for Landry Seafood House, became a regional manager for them. Opened up a Bonefish Grill as a managing partner in Orlando. Opened up the 7th one with the original Bonefish guys in Outback. And that's what I did. Then I opened up my own restaurant. So what I know is restaurants. I can run a restaurant anywhere. I've run them from Tampa to Austin to you name it. Houston, Birmingham, Orlando. I ran restaurants there, full service restaurants. That's what my degree's in. That's what I knew. And then when I was 40, I got the bartender pregnant at the local watering hole, and I found out I was having a son. I didn't really want to work them hours anymore. And the rest of, I was married to my job till I was 40. Graduated college when I was 21. Worked in the restaurant business until I was 40, and then I went to work in finance business. My father was one of the founders of Crescent Bank and Trust. And what is Crescent Bank and Trust? Kind of like a subprime bank, if there's such a thing. They buy a lot of loans from subprime finance companies and stuff, because there's certain regulations banks can follow. So I had a history of knowing about cars. I've been around the car business most of my life. Then as a collection supervisor for 10 years, I knew the people, and I was in the restaurant business, so I know people. Now, it's very important for this deal. You got to understand people and know the people you're dealing with. It's not a must, but it helps. You either got to know something about cars or you got to know people. My thing is I knew people. So, all right, I decided to lease this place. And why did I decide to lease this? Because like you see on the main drag here, this place I saw a gold mine here, okay? So in August, I started my lease. I hung all the flags up. You'll see, I'm gonna put a picture in here on the video, and you'll see how it started. And I had these spots. All what you see the cement is, that's the only place I could put a car. And so when we opened, we had about, 12 cars, 14 cars. They were nicer cars because they were all the repos from the finance company. So August, I spent cleaning the place up, cutting trees down, putting the signs up, putting banners up, putting streamers up, putting pennants up, did it all. You name it, I did it all. Why? I had $50K to my name. What I did at first is I went for the next 3 months, I paid my my house note, I paid my child support, so I didn't have any of that. I had $1,100 a month child support. That's because I always made good money. So I paid $1,100 a month in child support. So this car lot had to make it. So September, August, we get it ready. October 1st, we opened for business. I had all my licenses, had my insurance, I had everything. I didn't sell a single car. November came, I sold one car. The down payment on that car was $1,500. You would have thought I was loving life. Man, I got that $1,500 down payment because that's what was my part of the deal. And they got the new contract. December comes, all the way to Christmas, didn't sell a car. Well, about in October, I knew I needed to find something out. After you see that on a car lot for 30 days and you don't sell a single car, you're like, man, I need to do something. So I went on YouTube and I'm like, I went looking. Because, I didn't want to lose my house. I didn't want to, disappoint my new wife. I paid my house note. I knew I had 3 months. So it took me to get this place open, and what you're going to see, what you saw in that picture, it took me about 20 grand. About 25. So I had about $25,000 left in my name. That's it. I had 401k and things like that, but I'm talking about liquid cash. And I had the finance company cars. So I guess the beginning of November, I started looking at YouTube videos. And I came across a guy that was sitting on his back porch talking about buy here, pay here. And I knew I wanted to get to buy here, pay here, but I knew I needed more money. I saw the guy, Charlie Bissell, like I said, the guy out on his building now, he had nicer cars the way he did the buy here, pay here, and they did high interest. And I really didn't want to do that. So I was looking. I was trying to form a plan on how I was going to do it. And I stumbled across Rick Dyer. And say what you want about Rick Dyer, the man knows how to make money. He might be a little shady sometimes. I love you, Rick. You're my boy. But he knows the car business. I'm not Rick Dyer. I don't ever claim to be Rick Dyer, but he had some excellent information. So picture this, Rick Dyer. So I'll look at what he's saying. I'm like, man, I could do that. I can make that happen. So it's Christmas. I go to the first auction after Christmas. I buy two cheap cars. Bring them back to the lot. Didn't even clean them. They get them back to the lot. And, I paid like $800 for one, and I paid $900 for the other. So I put them out for sale. I put one down with a $700 down payment, the other one out with a $600 down payment. I sold those cars within 2 hours of being on the lot. And that's all it took. Boom. So I go tell my wife, I say, honey, I'm going to take the last 30 grand. I'm going to start buying cheaper cars. And I'm going to do this. I watched this guy, Rick. I'm taking a lot of ideas he does. Watch his video. And my wife watches one of his videos. And she goes, have you lost your mind, Henry? You going to do that? I'm like, I'm going to do something like that. So I made the plan. I'm going to go over my plan when we get to that time, when it's that time. So I'm just explaining how we got here. So my wife goes, Henry, you should, because I was looking, I had two options. One, I was going to open up the car dealership, or I was looking at doing a Marco's Pizza, do the franchise in Louisiana. I thought the pizza was good. I thought it was a good opportunity. I went and talked to the people. I had everything that they required to get the franchise, but it was a lot of money. I was going to have to borrow money. I really didn't want to do that. So I said, honey, I'm going to do the used car thing. I got free cars. Can't go wrong with free cars. I can make this happen. And then when I sat here for 2 months empty, and then we roll into Christmas time, and I ain't sold no cars, it was a cold Christmas for me. I was disappointed. I know my wife's like, my new wife, she's like, oh, what did I get myself into? But when I bought the cheap cars, I sold those two in 2 hours, I knew I was on to something. So January comes around. I'm gonna show you the numbers. You know, because one thing about me, there ain't no storytelling. I'm gonna show you, this is real life, baby. This is real life. This is where my dreams came true. You can't see it now, but after 2 years of being on this lot, I had 3 rows of cars. I had cars all the way to that ditch over there. I had cars in the woods. I had cars over here. This place was a used car factory. I had cars everywhere. You look at the beginning, look at the videos in the beginning. That's where we started from. And just kind of watch, you can see the progression. How it all happened. The only reason I had YouTube videos is that's how I would sell cars. I knew somebody watched me on a video, they could see how passionate I was, they'd buy one of my cars. So I never ever wanted to get a website to sell my cars because that's cold. You can watch the real deal, you know. I watched the Bigfoot hunter. I got a little inspired by him. You see me, and you see how fired up I am, and you see, and you have been through the subprime and the high interest and all that. I knew that they would buy cars from me. So I've never gotten a website. Still to this day, I don't have a website, but I'm in the process of getting one because I have thousands of people have bought cars over the last 4 years, and they all come back and they know the program, so they don't have to watch the video now to see my cars. So that's how I got on YouTube, and then that's how all this began. I've never got on YouTube to be an influencer. I got on YouTube to sell cars. I need to sell cars to my family. But this was the place, and what appealed to me about this place was it's on Highway 90. It's the main drag. I had Napa across the street. There's Long Beach Auto Auction here in this town. It's in Long Beach, Mississippi. It's about 20 minutes away. So I didn't have to pay transport for cars. I could walk across the street to get my parts, you know. And it was just me. I was a one-man show. And when I started buying cheaper cars, my dad would sit here. He's 75, so at that point he's probably 78 years old. And he was retired. You know, he was a founder of a bank. Senior vice president. He'd been retired for 20-something years, but he loved his son, so he helped me out. He would sit here and collect payments, or he would sit here and show people cars. There's only 2 people making payments. So another reason I decided the Bigfoot man had a good idea, and I took parts. He said I took parts of what I knew from Rick. I learned from Rick Dyer. I took parts of what I know at the finance company. I took parts of what my dad did when I watched him my whole life. So I took all that and I formed my own plan. You know, because I don't do it exactly like Rick. Some things are very similar because I got a lot of good ideas from Rick. I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody. Rick Dyer gave me a lot of great ideas. That dude knows what he's talking about. I wouldn't do some of the things he does, but he runs his car dealership, I run mine. That's what you got to realize. Everybody's different, man. But if you want to get some good knowledge, he has good knowledge. You want to get some good knowledge, I got good knowledge. You want to learn about cars, go to both of us. So when I sat here for the first 2 months and I sold one car, so that was a Payday Loan place where it says Direct Auto over there. And on Friday and Saturday, because I had all this, you see there's very little parking places after the cars in here. They would have people lined up down the street in there making payments. And I would sit there and it would drive me crazy. The guy who used to run it was TJ. It drive me nuts. I love TJ to death. I'm like, man, how do you have people lined up in your business? He goes, Henry, it's the busiest one in Mississippi. So I had the busiest Payday Loan place next to me here, and I can't sell no cars. And the reason I couldn't sell no cars is because nobody's going to come buy cars from a guy that just opens up, or very few people, and they got $2,000, $1,500, $3,000 down payments. So I had to build up a reputation. So, and if people go on and making payday loans, you know that the income level around here wasn't that great. What you have in Bay St. Louis, you got to know your demographics. This is a perfect place for a buy here, pay here dealership. You have retirees, and I sell cars to them now because I buy some unique, exact things. My car lot now, I buy what I think it will sell, things that turn me on, and it's a whole different ballgame from when we started. But when we started, I tried to buy cars $1,000 and less, just like what Rick would preach. Now, I couldn't find as many as Rick did, you know, and I could never, ever, ever get what I pay down on the car, you know. That don't happen around here. So it's a little different. So we're going to go over that in a little bit. But I sat here and I watched this payday loan place for 2 months, and it drove me crazy. I've never been unsuccessful at anything I've ever done in my entire life. You know, I was general manager of the year a couple times, won best seafood restaurant in Orlando. I'm used to performing. That's what I do. I'm a performer. So watching Rick's videos, I was all in. You know, so I went and bought, I don't know, I think 15 cars in January. We sold 8 of them. And luckily, 2 of them were finance companies. You know why that's luckily? Because I didn't pay nothing for them cars. That was just free money coming in. So I sold them. That was money I go buy more cars with. So January we sold 8 cars, which compared for the first 3 months. And my wife goes, "You sure this is going to make it?" I'm like, I'm fired up. I'm thinking I'm doing awesome. I sold 8 cars. And how do we sell them cars? Because I had low down payments. I had cars that I guaranteed the transmission and the motors on for 2 weeks. And so that gave people weren't a little iffy about me. Because you see, the guy that was over here at the other dealership, his name, I ain't gonna tell you his name, but he's a scrapper. He buys cars at the auction that are disabled, and if he happens to get one running, he'll sell it to somebody. You know, he put Blue Devil in the car, he do whatever he does to get a car running. He could get some money for it and sell it. Boom. That's what this guy would do. Well, I'll shut him down in a matter of 4 months. I shut down every car dealership on the street except for the franchise dealership right there. And there's another guy down the street. He's got 5 cars now. But after 3 years, they used to have 5, 6 car lots on the street. There's nothing but the thrifty, baby. And then we had cars in the woods. So that January, we sold 8 cars. Guess what we sold in March? We roll out, we sell 25 in March. I knew I needed to get to 80 cars before I could hire an employee. And I really wanted to hire an employee because I was doing everything. I was cleaning the cars, selling the cars. This is not a job for you if you're not willing to work, okay? If you're not willing to work and you don't believe what you're doing, people will see it. I ain't busted. People come in and see me, I show them the car, and I get back over here cleaning the car. And back then, all I had was this little part right here. These little, where you see the cement. So, what happens is, I sell 25 in February, I sell 30 in March. By April 15th, I was ready to hire an employee, and that's when I hired Angela. And Angela, she'll be in some of the videos. She was a customer of mine, and she bought a car from me. And then I did a referral bonus, a referral fee. If you brought somebody in to buy a car from me, I'd give you $25. And she brought in 10 people to buy cars from me, and she was using it to pay a car payment. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna hire somebody. I like her hustle. So I offered her a job, and the rest is history, baby. She's done a phenomenal job. I think a girl ain't never sold anything but pizzas, real young, but she's tough. She don't take no caca, and she's perfect for the buy here, pay here business, because we're gonna have some stories, baby. There's gonna be some stories on this channel that you ain't gonna believe. They all happen in this little building right here. So I hired her in April. That enabled me to be able to go buy more cars. I started buying the cars from the Payday Loan place. All his repos, I bought them. So I went to the landlord in May and I said, can I put some cement? I'm not cement. Can I drop some rocks right here and just put another 20 cars right there? I can't afford to pay no more on my lease, but I need to have more cars if I'm going to be able to stay here and I'm going to be able to make it. He said, sure, Henry. So once I got a bigger selection, I got busier and busier. So the next thing you know, I didn't ask for permission. Back there in them woods, back there, I had 4 rows of cars. By the end of the year, I had 70 cars in inventory. By the end of the next year, I had 130 cars in inventory. By the beginning of that next year, I bought my own lot. The guy that reason I opened up here, Charlie Bissell, the guy that was running his little lot, he wasn't selling no cars no more because Big Daddy was in town now. So Charlie said, Henry, I don't want to come back. I don't want my lot. He goes, you want to buy it? I said, I'd love to buy it. He goes, you want to buy these cars that are on the lot? I said, I'll buy the cars too. So I bought the lot, I bought the cars, and that's how we got over there. I've been over there for 1 year. 507 cars we sold this year. Baby. So that's what this channel is going to be about. This is where we began. That's what I just wanted to show you. It's going to be a little more organized, a little less storytelling. But this is how a restaurant guy became a car dealer. You know, I even know where I want to open up my next spot if I want to open another one. But I got other deals. And we're going to tell you how we got the name. Our name, we'll tell you that today. Our name is Thrifty Used Cars and Tires. Because my neighbor in Baton Rouge had 2 used tire places. And he had all kinds of extra equipment and all kinds of extra stuff. And he said, Henry, he goes, I'll sell it to you cheap, or, you know, and you work out a loan program, whatever you want, man. And he goes, I hate that you lost your job. I'm a good neighbor. He goes, this is extra stuff I got. He goes, I don't really need it. So I thought to myself and said, man, used car lot, used tires, buy here, pay here, next to a payday loan place. My that goes hand in hand. So I made the name of the place before I went down to City Hall and found out what was going on. I went to City Hall. In the city of Bay St. Louis, you got to have your tires all covered. You got to have a separate building. You can't have an employee that works at both places. You got to have 2 different employees. So I'd already picked the name. It's going to cost me $200 to change the name. I had sign already made. So Thrifty Used Cars and Tires it is, baby. No tires, though. We don't sell no tires. Welcome to my YouTube page. You like what you see, you like what you hear, you want to sell some cars, you want to open a car lot, like, subscribe. That's what we're going to be about, baby. Thrifty Used Cars and Tires. I'm Henry Wallace. I watched the Bigfoot Hunter, took some notes from him, learned what he did, and I formed and made my dream. But this is where it began, the Catholic Charity Building, to where we're at now. Stay tuned.